slower up and play a few more slower balls and change the pace a little bit.
Okay. Al John also told me that Chris did not seem very nervous before the match, maybe just a tad edgy. Thank you.
Interesting comments by John Lloyd.
But I don't think, in all honesty, Al, that John is going to betray any nervousness on the part of his wife.
Nope. And even though he may feel that Steffi's dominating, that we're even. We're on serve anyway.
Well, Chris again is struggling in a first set of one of her matches, and I can't really think of a good reason why. She certainly isn't nervous when she starts these matches. Maybe she just wears down her opponent, finds a groove midway through the first set.
Perfect case in point would be the other night of the semis with Kathy Rinaldi. Went to a tiebreaker, and Chris won the tiebreaker 8-6, and then steamrolled Rinaldi in the second set 6-1.
Does her game remind you of Virginia Wade, Steffi Graf's fan?
A little bit on maybe the slice backhand side, but certainly Steffi
hits the forehand harder.
A lot harder. Also, Virginia had a big serve and liked to volley a lot more.
I think as Steffi gets older, she may incorporate that into her game.
Well,
she certainly has the skills to do it.
Sure, she got to the finals of the mixed doubles here.
Graf ahead 3-2, but Evert serving here 40-30. Chance to square things at 3 games apiece in the first set.
That was out.
Game Evert Lloyd, 3-all.
One hears a lot about the rate of injury to young female players, especially when they're coming onto the tour playing so much, but we haven't heard too much about any injuries from Steffi. Is she just an exception?
Well, actually, about 2 years ago down in Australia, she had her first serious injury. She fell and broke her thumb, or dislocated her thumb, but she's been playing pretty smartly. She's only played 12 tournaments in the last year, so they're not overplaying her.
Ooh, what a passing shot. And you predicted that she would try some of those before. We took another look at that backhand drop shot by Steffi Graf down the line. Chris comes to it, just barely gets it over. Steffi now can do one of 3 things. Down the line, cross-court or lob. She elects to go cross-court for a winner. 15 love.
Evert Lloyd shots hugged the line that time.
I've got to think that in those backhand-to-backhand duels, Chris is going to win most of them, basically because she's hitting the ball flat and Steffi's hitting it with slice. And Chris is just so much better at that. Chris is actually penetrating, hitting the ball much harder than Steffi, who's just, as I said, slicing it. When the ball hits the ground, it sort of stands up a bit.
See, Stephanie's taking her time here. Usually she plays very quickly, and now she's taking a little bit more time. Maybe she's a little tired.
Didn't have that racket head ready. So important when you're coming out for an approach shot to have the racket head correct.
15-30.
There's Butch Buckholt, the chairman of this tournament, who's sitting next to Philippe Chatrier, former chairman of the International Tennis Federation, now head of the French Tennis Association. Oh, what a shot. Half volley, cross court for a winner.
Think about Stephanie and her forehand. She has such a quick swing that you cannot pick up the direction. Just look at the racket head, how quickly it goes through the ball here. And Chris would have no idea whether that was going up the line or cross court.
Oh, what a shot.
40-30.
That's what she's waiting for in those baseline duels, to get a short ball so she can run around her backhand and do exactly that.
40-30.
Groff's done very well to win the last 2 points. The tide had started to go back into Chris's favor. Groff was up 3-1. It got back to 3-all, and Chris was up 15-30 this game. But now Steffi's got a game point to go ahead 4-3 in the first set.
And she leads 4-3. Evert Lloyd has not lost a set, by the way, since December 7th last year, losing to Martina Navratilova in Australia.
Tonight is special. Lipton brings you special moments, an enchanting herbal tea, chamomile, fruits, spearmint, blended for a taste like no other herbal tea. Special moments, one of the very special teas from Lipton.
You are what you eat, so you better eat light. Wishbone Light. It's light on oil, but with a full, fresh taste. You are what you eat, so you better eat light. Wishbone Light.
You'd never expect to catch a fish in downtown Austin. Yet that's the reason people come to the Austin Angler, one of the few places in Texas you can get a custom-made split bamboo fly rod and a fresh-tied woolly one to go on the end. So if you go there, remember, keep your rod tip up and put your Visa card down. Because at the Angler, they don't take fishing lightly, and they don't take American Express. Visa, it's everywhere you want to be.
When a road is slippery, braking your car can cause skidding or worse. Now, Tevis, an ITT company, has an anti-lock brake system to help keep your car under control. A built-in computer senses the road and brakes the wheels without locking. This ITT Tevis system is available on some American cars now, and none too soon.
Quiet, please.
Pete Weber, son of Dick, and from St. Louis, has made it to the round of 5, and you'll see the Professional Bowlers Tour St. Louis Open coming up next. Pete Weber in the finals. The PBT getting underway at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. Chris Evert Lloyd serving in the 8th game of the first set.
Love 15.
We'll see if Stephanie continues to go for broke. This is the important game. If she breaks here, she can serve for the first set. But that was a great shot. It was a wonderful try. She missed it. She shouldn't be discouraged about it.
I agree. Yes, it was worth taking a chance. you think it's an accident that West Germany has produced two very good players and very young players all of a sudden at one time?
In Boris Becker and Steffi Graf.
Is that an accident?
I don't think so. The women have been very strong for a long time. Sylvia Hanukkah, if you remember, beat Martina Navratilova in our winter championships a couple years ago, and now Claudia Kota-Kilsch is ranked number 4 or 5 in the world.
A loose error. Of course, there are quite a few players from all over Europe popping up, just as the one that Boris Becker lost to last week. Milan Shriver, 6'8". Biggest serve in tennis, possibly, right now.
Once again, we're going to see Steffi Graf's big weapon. She hits a top spin and just flicks that wrist over the ball.
Well, that's where Martina gets her also, although Martina uses her left-handed forehand cross-court, but just to catch Chris having hit that two-handed shot where she just cannot reach as far.
Chris has such tremendous footwork, and whenever I see Chris not in position for a shot, I say one thing. That shot was hit very hard and very well, because Chris is always there in the right spot.
Evert Lloyd.
Steffi's forehand is hit with a continental grip, which allows you to disguise the ball at the last minute. She can flick the ball at the last minute because she does use that grip. I'm surprised she's able to hit the ball as hard with that grip, because most people who try, it's much weaker than an Eastern.
Even now at 4 games apiece in this best-of-3 women's final. Again tomorrow,
Games are 4-all.
it will be Yvonne Lendl, number 1 in the world, against Mats Wilander in the best-of-5 men's final.
Oh, what a shot.
You heard Chris say, yeah, right? As soon as she saw the ball come off Steffi's racket, she knew she wasn't going to get anywhere close to that.
Well, very few players, men or women, would want to run around and hit forehands like that all the time. Of course, that's their biggest weapon. Jimmy Arias, Aaron Crickstein.
Love.
There she is running around her backhand again to hit the forehand volley out of the air down the line. Chris went the other way, by the way, thinking she was going to go cross court.
At that point, you got to guess somewhere.
Yeah, sure. But I think Chris did the right thing.
Sure.
you guess first and make your opponent go the other way if possible, but just didn't work in that instant. Ooh, I thought she was going to hit a top shot.
Steffi's still not comfortable around the net, and she shouldn't get discouraged when she misses those shots. I feel like she's a little timid. She doesn't want to do it. We saw her miss an overhead on a big point earlier in this set. Heck, if she ever develops a tremendous net game,
Watch
Arthur.
Oh, go home. Well, she's away with the future. Play all over the court. She's learning.
We can see what her physical skills are here today. Does she, though, can you tell at the age of 16, does she have the temperament and the will to make it to the top and stay there?
Well, she's very much a hard worker. She has been off the tour since late October. She took the time off to build some strength and take some time off, maybe go to school. I think she does have all the abilities to become a top one, top two player, possibly a couple of years down the line.
And we've already seen what the pressures of being number one at such an early age can do. It's an awesome responsibility, being number one in a world sport like tennis, unlike, say, basketball or baseball, or even football, which are predominantly American sports.
Here's a big point. Chris has a break point to lead 5-4.
Graf gets it back to Deuce.
Is Chris a step slower?
No, believe me.
Oh, well, we haven't talked about that. I was just wondering if at 31 now, if she were a half a step slower, because that's what they say. The players say that about Connors, that he is a half a step slower than he was. Although he certainly didn't look like it yesterday.
And again, Evert Lloyd with a break point.
Steffi every once in a while gets caught when Chris pounds a double-fisted backhand to Steffi's slice backhand. She doesn't get her racket down hit quite early enough.
Evert Lloyd breaks through in the ninth game to take the lead, and she'll be serving for the first set when we come back to Boca West.
Recently, a panel of experts gathered to sample a different kind of pot roast. Upon sampling a bite, they sensed this was no ordinary roast. It's been souped up with Lipton onion soup mix. Lipton's special seasonings and toasted onion pieces make it more delicious. Experts?
Nice onion flavor.
I like it. Yeah.
The experts agree. Souped up pot roast is simply delicious. Soup up your recipes with Lipton.
Tractors, engines, big computers, airplane parts and motor scooters, call Emery, and it's as good as there. If your shipment's big, Emery's gonna help you make it, 'cause we've got a rig that's sure to take it from the biggest to the smallest. It's as good as there, just call us. It's as good as there.
Lipton tea you made, decaffeinated just for me.
Lipton, you made decaffeinated delicious, just for me.
Hey, Lipton, you made decaffeinated just for me.
Great tasting Lipton decaffeinated tea. Real Lipton tea, delicious and decaffeinated, just for you.
Lipton tea you made, decaffeinated, just for us.
Of course, if you were with us earlier, you saw the Jimmy Connors debacle from yesterday. Lee Jackson is the women's tournament referee. Lee, has anything like that ever happened in a women's match?
Never to the extent as it did yesterday. Never. We've had disputes, line call disputes, but never more than just a warning, and everybody's relaxed and gone back.
Okay, of course, one of the candidates for trouble on a women's court is Pam Shriver. Lee just told me that. Al, back to you.
That's why she's up here.
Thanks, Al. Thanks.
And we will get into that later. I've got a Pam Shriver story, because I was there. In Toronto.
Uh-oh.
Time permitting. Evert Lloyd serving for the set. Pretty long first. Talking about long sets and long matches with Steffi Graf. You know all about that, Pam, from the U.S. Open.
Well, we had a marathon there. We played 3 tie-break sets. I lost 7-6 in the third in about a 2-hour, 50-minute match.
I remember reading your quote that had to be about as gut-wrenching a loss as you've ever taken.
It was incredible because it was the quarterfinals, and I very much wanted to play Martina in the next round. And also the weather, it was about 10 degrees hotter than this.
From the last 2 games, she's fell apart. That's all there is to it. She's hit quite a few unforced errors. They weren't forced at all.
I think she's starting to feel quite a bit of pressure on her backhand side, and sometimes she's not sure whether or not she should chip it down the line so Chris maybe will hit to hurt Steffi's forehand.
All now. Evert Lloyd ahead 5 games to 4.
And that's her second double fault in the match.
It's good to see Chris take chances like that at 30 all at 5-4. Here's Steffi running wide for a backhand slice. See the racket head, a bit of wiggle in the racket head there.
Set point now for Chris. And a good serve down the middle. Graf hits it out, and Chris Evert Lloyd wins the first set 6-4.
Chris's last 2 serves of that set were the best for her the whole match, which I suppose is a mark of a real champion, to be able to bring out a weapon that ordinarily isn't a weapon.
No, you don't think of it as a weapon, but she has a solid serve, I think. The best way to describe it. Solid.
That's what we have coming up for you on Wide World this afternoon. Professional Figure Skating World Challenge of Champions from Paris.
15 low.
And Graf begins set 2 in auspicious fashion with a put away.
Now, this is where in Chris's previous matches we've seen her pull away from opponents, and it'll be interesting to see if Steffi can stay with Chris early in the second set. We just saw Stephanie there whack a ball away in disgust. Steffi does have a temper at times.
Yes, I've seen it also.
But she's kept it in check so far this match.
It's natural to let go every once in a while. Don't take it too far.
30-15. Again, Graf trying to not only beat Chris Evert Lloyd for the first time, she's trying to win a set for the first time against Chris Evert Lloyd. Graf at the age of 16, Chris 31.
And Graf also trying to win her first major tournament.
First tournament period. She hasn't won any women's tour events, has she?
She won one small satellite tournament a couple of years back.
And again, as we mentioned earlier, she also won the Olympic competition.
When you talk about weaknesses in Chris Evert Lloyd's game, there are very few, but one weakness is her approach forehand. And now we see their first serve percentage. Can't get much closer than that.
Nope.
And unforced errors, Graf is way ahead in that, but that goes to show that she's going for a shot, trying to make the winners as well.
40-30.
And that's unforced error number 19.
Of course, we've been talking about Steffi Graf's forehand, but Chris Evert Lloyd doesn't have a bad forehand. Graf has squandered 2 game points. Now it's back to deuce.
Who has the most penetrating ground strokes in women's tennis? Not necessarily the hardest, but the most penetrating. And I think of Martina's forehand as being very penetrating, although she doesn't hit it as hard as Chris.
Well, Tracy Austin used to have unbelievably...
Yeah, they all thought she had the best groundies.
But I'd say it'd be between Graf, Evert, and Martina.
Chris comes to the net, puts it away, and takes it back to deuce.
Steffi had to run quite a ways to get to Chris's volley there, and it would have been a smart play maybe to throw a lob up into the sky. It's a sunny day, high sky. And Chris's overhead's a nice overhead, but it's not an automatic shot for Chris.
Do you ever get the feeling, and I say this tongue-in-cheek, that Chris just wants to go absolutely bananas on the court every once in a while?
Oh, sure. I kid her all the time because I go bananas a lot, and I see her facial expressions, and I know how she is off the court, and sometimes I just want her to get really mad. Just once for me.
And for her.
So it was a struggle, but she holds service. Steffi Graf takes the first game of the second set.